What is up, everybody, and welcome to the last semi-final match of Nerdgasm. It's here. We've started recording these in December, and we definitely intended to all end it in July, August. Definitely not trying to end it for March or April. I am your host of Black Letter Brooklyn Vale, and we have a fellowship civil war. We have Robert Parker, the Fandom singles and the Fandom team champion, going up against Cain McMillan, a person who has taken an interesting path to the title, to say the least. But I am not alone today on the judges panel here. I'm joined by my co-commissioner, that son of a bitch, Cody Newberry. Cody, as a manager of both of these people, it must be stressful for you. It's trying to pick favorites. How do you feel?
It's literally trying to pick between my two loves, and it's going to end very badly. And one is not going to like me, and the other is one, if it goes one way, the one will be like, I completely understand. The other would be a little bit more hurt than the opposite end. So either way, whoever has to, then they have to face Tim. So it's going to be an uphill battle. I have this double time now, so I'm not looking forward to this. I just hope to get this over soon.
All right, and the other judge today, often the third man of Nerdgasm, a person who has taken on both competitors on their road to the title. How do you feel about this match today?
Yes, the third man, a movie I will never see. Fuck you, Boatman. Robert and Cain have both proven that they are really good at debate. Robert has a really strong fight, and I took him to the last question on a day that I really shouldn't have done that. And Cain has put up some fights and won some fights that he did not want to win. So this is going to be a really a fun match between the two.
We'll get some quick competitors. We'll start off with the Hobbit Parker. Robert, you have not competed in one of these since February. Are you worried that there is going to be some rust? And how do you feel going up against Cain?
Yeah, it's been a hot minute, but I don't think there's any rust because, let's be real, half the time when we're just on calls together, we're Nerdgasm anyways because we're all just arguing and debating. It's just not scored. So I'm looking forward to this. Cain is a strong competitor. I think I talk louder, but that doesn't always equate to better points. So I think Cain and I are actually a really even match in debate, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this goes.
All right, well, best of luck to you and your opponent, the Hurricane Cain. Previously, you had an path to semifinal. Most recent match, you toppled probably fan favorite Jay Burns. How do you feel against Robert?
You know, the thing that scares me about Robert is I don't know if I'll be able to talk. At the 5-minute freeform round, I might be able to get 3 words in. The man can go on and on about the same bullshit, and that's scary.
We will not have any filibustering Robert the Hobbit Parker, understand?
Yeah, I don't filibuster unless somebody else does it first. Unless Caleb Cole tries to do it first, then I'll do it right back to him.
Okay. All right, guys, well, let's get to it. We'll get into the prep part of the debate. There is a 1-minute opening, followed by a 5-minute freeform and a 40-second closing. The competitors drafted categories, and then we gave them the questions. So we'll go right into question number 1. And the question first up is, what is the best character theme? And this is all of Fandom. We will be going to Cain first. You will have minutes, and time begins where you start talking.
The way I decided my choice was to take a character and to take a theme that elevates the character, that whenever you hear the song itself, it definitely feels like you can see that character, you can see everything going on. And that is why I picked Captain Jack Sparrow from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Personally, I think his score is very fun and riveting, and it's definitely one of the few scores out there. It's no matter who, if you've never even seen the movies, you definitely know where it's from. It is so iconic and so fun, and I think it captures everything that Jack Sparrow is. And I'll get more into that in the freeform part.
And then your argument a little bit early there. We'll see how that pays off. Robert, what do you feel is character theme in all of Fandom?
So I think this one's actually pretty easy. I went with the Avengers theme by Alan Silvestri. I think the reason is because it is used in a number of different situations, and each one is applicable, each one is perfect. When you hear that theme, you get goosebumps, you get chills. It's used in action moments, like when Thor arrives on Wakanda. It's late, like when Thor arrives on Wakanda, but it's also used in really emotionally heavy moments, like when the Avengers find out that Coulson dies. It's applicable in many situations. It is iconic, it is melodious, and it is is just a beautiful theme to listen to, and I will rag on Jack Sparrow in a minute.
All right, in similar fashion to Cain. All right, gentlemen, we go into the 5 minutes of free form. Once again, I just do a 1 minute warning when we come to the end. Just carry on. No filibustering, no touching of the hair or face. You know the rules. Let's get it on.
I want to touch his hair, though.
I want to touch Cain's hair. His facial hair is very impressive. Can we just talk about that for a minute? So the thing about Jack Sparrow is I don't know which theme you're talking about. If you're talking about the Pirates of the Caribbean theme, then are you talking about the one by Klaus Badelt or the one by Hans Zimmer? There's two different ones.
I'm mainly talking about Hans, just to specify.
Okay. So it's so iconic. You're thinking of like, for example, like the song that plays like during the wheel spinning scene, like that is a very iconic theme, but that's not Jack Sparrow's theme. That's not a character's theme. That's just the Pirates theme. I wouldn't really say that that's a specific character theme because you don't really associate it with Jack Sparrow. You associate it with the swashbuckling adventure of the franchise. With the Avengers, it's very clearly applicable to the group of the Avengers. If you're going to go with a single character and you were going to go based on iconography, I would have gone Imperial March or James Bond. I like the Jack Sparrow theme for sure, and it's like Hans Zimmer's a good composer. Like it's good music, obviously, and it's used in good moments. But I don't really associate it with Jack Sparrow as a character.
I think it's hard not to associate it with Jack Sparrow because he's the main character of the franchise, and it's definitely like saying that. Oh well, why is I'm trying to think of my words. So yeah, it's just saying that like. So Pirates of the Caribbean is definitely Jack's story. It's never been tried to be anything other than Jack's story. So with that being the theme, it has kind of become Jack's theme. Whenever you hear that, you don't think of Barbossa, you think of Captain Jack Sparrow. I think the problem with the Avengers pick, while I think it is a solid choice, the question was character, and you picked characters. And I think that's another problem with the Imperial March, because the Imperial March can also coincide with the Empire as a whole. And that could be a reason why the Imperial March doesn't work, because I think that is by far one of the best themes out there, but in doing so, it covers multiple characters while I wanted to focus on a singular character.
That's fair. Yeah, the Avengers theme was still accepted though, so I don't really like. I don't love the semantics argument of where it's one character versus multiple characters. It was still an accepted. Like I even asked them like, "Hey, is this like an okay thing to do?" And they're like, "Yeah, it's fine." That's my Brooklyn impression. But
we come to the conclusion: Brooklyn's not the greatest fandom player. He probably thinks the Avengers is like one superhero. So when Brett told him it was like 20, he's like, "Oh shit, I don't know what's going on."
Minus 20 points to both players.
And you're right when you say that the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise is Jack's story, but when I hear that music, I don't think of Jack Sparrow. I think of the action set pieces, right? I think of the ship battle at the end of World's End, or I think of the wheel spinning. I think of Elizabeth, and I think of all the other characters in their action moments, because that's when it's used the most, and that's when it's used effectively the most. But I don't associate it with specific character moments of Jack. You can point out specific character moments where this theme is used to draw emotion from the Avengers.
Okay, while I can definitely agree with everything that you've just said, I do still think that this is when we first see Jack in Curse of the Black Pearl, and he's like, "Oh, this was the day that you'll almost catch Captain Jack Sparrow," and he does this whole move. That's when they really start playing it. This theme that we are first introduced to Jack is a completely different theme, but we don't see that until Jack really shows that he is hard to catch. He's actually a really good pirate, and that is the moment where it's like, yes, this is fun, it's adventurous, and this theme as a whole describes everything that I want from the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. That's fun and everything, and it's mainly because of Jack's theme with the Curse of the Black. But yeah. So going back to my original argument is that I wanted a theme that when you hear it, you can feel the character of whatever character you decided on. I decided to go with Jack Sparrow because this is a character theme on which you can definitely understand and hear everything from it. You can hear, like in the song, you could feel like you're out on the sailing on a boat with Jack Sparrow. You can out and feel like it's adventurous and it's fun. While with the Avengers, it's kind of the same, and it's like it's hard. I think the Avengers theme would have been done better if it would have took all the themes from the other characters and combined it into a singular theme.
I disagree with that, though. I disagree with that. I think the main point of the Avengers is to instill hope, to instill emotion, to feel protected and safe. Like, that's what superheroes do, and that's exactly what this theme does. The dun-dun-dun-dun. Like, that is so inspirational. That's exactly what the Avengers as a team aim to do, is to inspire hope, and that's exactly what the theme does. I don't disagree that each of the Avengers do have, like, good themes. When you bring them together, when you bring that theme together, you think of the iconic shots, you think of the iconic action, but you also think of the characters and the characters' motivation within their universe. The Jack Sparrow theme, you're right, you're on a pirate ship, but like that's not Jack Sparrow's theme. It's really hard to suss out what is the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise music versus specifically what Jack is feeling in those moments, what his character is, what his motivations are, what his hope is, and that's the opposite of what you get with Avengers, where you really do get those insights just by listening to the music.
I still disagree. I think it would have done way better if it was used as a culmination of all the scores, kind of like what the movie is. Like if I could hear Thor's theme, Iron Man's theme, Cap's theme all together, and like mixed in like some weird way, and that would have been better.
Great. All right, let's get into the closing arguments. We're going to start off with Robert. You have 45 seconds to wrap them up and present to the judges accordingly.
If you're talking about mishmashed themes, that's what happens to the Sparrow theme by like the fifth movie. Once you've had three composers all trying to put their own spin on that one theme, it doesn't become Jack's theme anymore. Once again, it's just the Pirates' music. When you have different composers all working at it on the same time, they try to put their own spin on it, and it just doesn't work. With the Avengers theme, it would have been horrible if you put 3 or 4 different composers all to work on the same thing. You do something unique, you make something original, and you really get to the core of what those characters believe in, their virtues, their values. And that's what the point of music is. It's supposed to inspire emotion. It's supposed to make you understand those moments. And that's exactly what the Avengers theme does, which is where the Pirates theme lacks.
All right. We'll go over to Kate for your closing arguments, wrap them up, and present them to the judges accordingly.
I think the best thing about Pirates of the Caribbean, mainly specifically Jack Sparrow's theme, is it is something that you get everything you want from the entire franchise in a singular theme, which makes it very good. Well, I think if you want to go back to the Wakanda scene from Infinity War with Thor shows, I think that scene would have been way better if it was the immigrant song from Thor Ragnarok coming in as Thor's theme. I think that would have been way better because it just kind of like takes everything from Thor Ragnarok and moves it over. But we got the Avengers theme. Well, yes, that was still good. I think the scene would have been better with the immigrant song. And I still agree 100% that Jack Sparrow's theme in Pirates of the Caribbean is almost the best thing about the entire franchise. It's a mediocre franchise, in my opinion, that is elevated by the theme of Jack Sparrow.
All right, so let's get to thoughts. I'm going to go first. I think Robert able to just sort of get a step ahead right out of the freeform. And we just sort of carried that entire way. Cain's closing was really good. I just don't think it's not quite enough to get the point for me. So I'm going to go to Robert just because I think his argument was well balanced and I got a better idea of what he's trying to present. But I'm not alone here. I will go to Caleb Coho next. Caleb, who gets your point one?
I'm gonna get so much shit. I actually kind of lean towards Cain on this. I think Cain did a better job of telling how that theme actually elevates that character in that franchise and how it plays in, and gave me different scenarios where that theme works and where scenarios where Robert's theme actually it hinders the scene more than it helps when he brought up the immigrant something is closing. So I'm going to go by the slightest of margins with Cain.
All right, it's now down to Cody. Who gets your point and why?
Why don't you both go fuck yourself? This is honestly really hard for me. Buzzword McGraw over there was throwing some real good buzzwords out the entire time, and that's what he's great at. I was waiting for something to be said, and it was said finally in the closing that kind of when Thor shows up in Wakanda that it kind of hurt because it wasn't his actually. I kind of think it was just the Avengers theme. But I feel like that's a little too late. I wanted it in the main round. The closing was just Robert didn't get a chance to rebut that. But if it was said a little sooner, it would have changed it because you would have actually put Robert on his back foot instead of where he couldn't go because it was over. So I have to give Robert by the slight edge because I think Cain argued this a lot better than I think he thought in his mind at first. So, yeah.
All right, so Robert does get the first point as we go into question number 2. And we'll get right into it. Your second question is as follows. Who is the most underrated Middle-earth characters? This does include Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies. We are going to go to Robert first because you went second last time. You have a 1 minute. Time begins whenever you're done.
The themes of the Lord of the Rings and the Middle-earth franchise in general, the themes that are what make those movies incredible. Yes, it's the filmmaking, yes, it's the acting, it's the story, but it is the themes. It is the relevant themes that really connect you with the characters. And the most underrated character is Faramir, because we are Faramir. The audience is Faramir. We are a person who... The whole story of the Lord of the Rings is how humans, man, it's really Aragorn's story. It's Boromir and Faramir's story. It is how man can be corrupted by power, by desire. That ring is representative. It's symbolic of desire, of our desires. It's of we want that one thing that we always gravitate back to, that vice that has us trapped. And Faramir is a character that is able to break the vice's hold on him. At the end of Two Towers, he is redeemed. He is able to find redemption, but he still goes back to his father. It's a story about honor and loyalty to his family, and that is inspirational. He gets a happy ending. He's one of the only characters who does, and he's a character who we really see ourselves in.
Excellent. Ending right on time. We'll go over to Cain. For your opening arguments, who do you feel is the most underrated Middle-earth character?
Frankly, in my opinion, the most underrated character in the Middle-earth saga is someone who no one talks about, and is arguably the most important character in the entire Middle-earth saga, and that is Bane, Bard's son from the Hobbit series. I think this man single-handedly created the Lord of the Rings saga. He single-handedly is saved everyone from Smaug. He is the most important character in the Middle-earth saga, and I'm sorry, I don't totally agree with the Fairman statement on how people didn't get happy endings, but I'll go more on that in the freeform.
All right, Cain staying true to the short openings. We'll go right into the 5-minute freeform. You guys know what to do. Let's get it on.
All right, so I first off want to start off. What do you mean people didn't get happy endings? Like Sam literally had a wedding. Fucking Boromir, not Boromir. Yeah. Aragorn literally.
I'm talking about.
People had happy endings, and you're saying Faramir, well, he was one of the few. No, multiple people had happy endings, so that argument's invalid.
Okay. Okay, I'm talking about the human characters, because a lot of the times, even Frodo...
Aragorn is more human character, though.
Aragorn isn't human. He's a ranger, he's Dunedain. He's not a, his race is... I'm talking about the story of humans in the Middle-earth saga is that of failure. It is a story of failure. It is the themes that what we desire, even if it's for a good cause. Boromir wanted the ring to use it for good. He wanted to help defend Gondor, but that greed, that vice overtook him. And that is applicable in today's world. Faramir also was taken over by that vice. He desired the admiration of his father. He wanted the love of whoever, and then he found it in Eowyn. But he desired all of these things. He wanted to be Faramir, captain of Gondor. A chance for Faramir, captain of Gondor, to show his stead or something like that is the quote. Or show his purpose or something. So even... Faramir shows that he's the most honorable character in the entire saga. I don't care human or not. He is the most honorable character in the entire saga. He is willing to ride out to try to retake Osgiliath to his death, knowing that he will die just because he thinks it will earn some brownie points for his father. That's honor, that's loyalty, that's dedication to family. And that is what is applicable in today's world, because we don't have enough of that in today's world. Bane...
But you want to talk about a character who wants to do something for his father? Bane literally got the
stands there. He stands there and lets his father shoot the arrow past him.
He got the arrow. He gave it to Bard after Bard done fucked up. Gave it to Bard, which allowed him to kill Smaug. If Bane was not there, Smaug never dies. The Lord of the Rings doesn't happen because Smaug kills everyone. So that means this character is the reason we get your favorite trilogy of the Lord of the Rings. He's the most important character that no one talks about, which makes him underrated. People at least talk about Faramir because
people talk about Faramir. Yeah, people talk about Faramir in only the bad light. They don't talk about him in the good light. They say, "Oh, what a fucking idiot! He wanted the ring too." Blah 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 blah. They talk about Two Towers Faramir. They don't talk about Return of the King Faramir, where he tells Gandalf everything about Frodo and Sam's journey. He helps escort Frodo and Sam to safety. He is the reason that Frodo and Sam make it successfully. He's the reason that Gandalf is able to defend Minas Tirith. If we're talking about Bane being underrated, first off, Smaug would have never woken up if Bane hadn't gotten everybody woken up in the armory. When they were all trying to steal weapons in the armory, Bane is the one who accidentally alerted the guards to go catch the dwarves. Dwarves never would have made it to the mountain. The whole impacting the series, every character impacts the series. If a freaking Faramir murders Gollum, then the rest of Lord of the Rings doesn't happen. That argument holds no water to me, because yes, every single character, if a choice wasn't made, the series would have been affected. Like, that's just how plot works.
Okay, but again, you're saying that Smaug would have never woke up, but using your argument that you just said, there's no guarantee that Smaug would have still been woken up, because the dwarves still would have gone in there, and one of them could have fucked up. Have you seen Martin Freeman? He's kind of a klutz. Like, he could have done fucked up and woken up Smaug, and next thing you know, he's awake. Okay? So, that argument, I mean, there's tons of things. I'm just saying that this kid literally went and got the arrow with fire going everywhere, a dragon flying in the air, retrieved it for his dad so he can kill Smaug.
And who killed Smaug? Who shot the arrow to kill Smaug? Bane stood there as a crossbar, doing nothing. He didn't even know which way. He didn't. Yeah, he went and grabbed it out of a boat and then climbed a ladder. That's it. That is. You think Bard couldn't have done that by himself? Because he absolutely could have.
Because
he 100% could have.
I didn't.
He was on his way to. He saw his son.
He saw the dragon. He was like, "Oh, I'm scared."
No, he didn't. He was shooting arrows at the dragon before Bane even got the black arrow. He saw his son going to get the black arrow, and he's like, all right, meet me at the top of that tower. He climbed the ladder. He was standing up at the tower. He was shooting it. He hit its spot, and then Bane showed up and is like, hey, you think you need this? And he's like, yeah, thanks for getting it for me. Now stand there and move, because you can't even direct yourself. I have to tell you which direction the dragon is, so that I could shoot the arrow at it. That's not an underrated character. That's a klutz. That is a dumb character. That's bad acting by John Bell, by the way. David Wenham is a far better character, far more nuanced, and a far more layered character.
You've literally talked for 3 minutes in this fight. Go ahead.
Again, I just think that Bane is arguably the most important character that no one talks about, therefore making him underrated due to the fact that he is so important to the rest of the saga, because without him, Smaug would have ran free. Yes, Bard did shoot the arrow. Yes, Bard is the one who killed Smaug, but it was a two-person job in doing so. So with that being said, Bane was needed to be there, and no one talks about Bane. If anything, people will talk about Bard over Bane, which, again, is underrated. You talked about a person who did something for their father. Guess what? Bane did it as well. And he was younger. He didn't have all this experience, and he went out of his way to go save the day.
Right. Interesting. Let's go into the closing arguments. We're actually going to go right back to Cain. You have 45 seconds. Should wrap up your argument accordingly.
I think when it comes to Faramir, people tend to want to talk bad about him, which is rightfully so. He's kind of a fuck up. While Bane is a character who, throughout the entire Hobbit series, we've seen do very not inspiring things, but never had an ounce of evil in him. He goes out of his way, and a kid who probably just wanted to live a life of his kid. And this character is someone who went out of his way, helped kill Smaug, saved the entire Middle-earth franchise, and definitely is someone who is never talked about, because I was like, I'm going to choose Bane. And Robert's like, Bane? B-A-N-E? No, Bane. B-A-I-N. Didn't even know how to spell the character's name. And this is the encyclopedia, Robert the Hobbit Parker.
All right. Over to Robert for his closing arguments. We should wrap up accordingly. And yeah, whatever you want.
First off, I knew who Bane was. I have screenshots to prove that entire statement wrong. But second off, you're right. Faramir is only talked about in the bad light because he's kind of a fuck up. My whole point, that was your one dig against Faramir. My whole point of this argument is that Faramir is able to overcome that. He's an inspirational character. He is here to show us, the viewer, that you can overcome the things that bring you down, the things that weigh you down. Your mistakes, your errors, your trials are not what defines you as a character. If you are good at heart, if you have the will to be loyal, to fight for your family, to fight for honor, that is enough to pay off. No matter how badly you messed up, no matter what mistakes you make, you are able to overcome your fuck-ups and be a better person. That is the inspirational message behind Faramir's character. There is no message at all behind Bane's character.
Oh boy, what an argument that was.
King, did I actually do that, by the way?
Yeah.
Did I? Okay.
Yep.
All right, let's go over to Cody this time, since you decided last time. I'll let you go first. Who gets your point and why?
So I've done a lot of debate in my life, and something that I honestly love is when you piss somebody off and drive them on their own little journey throughout their own little fight, and to try to get them back. And Robert got pissed off in this fight, and you could see it through. He was very good with buzzwords, and I've always told him one day it's going to bite him in the ass, and today is that day. He is going to, in my eyes, lost the Middle-earth question because he talked about themes and the human aspect of it, but not overall why he proved that he was actually underrated. I think he was misunderstood, and he argued for misunderstood because they think he's a fuck-up, not that he is underrated. And I think he tackled the wrong points in this fight. So my vote actually goes to Cain.
All right, we'll go to me next because Caleb went second last time as well. They often say that offense wins games, but defense wins championships. Robert just attacked, but I think Cain's defense is what also gets to me this point. Just the way that he handled everything, and I was just like, all right, this is pretty impressive. Just the way that he's able to sort of manipulate everything and sort of twirl it around. I'm going to go with Cain as well, which means that we're tied up. Caleb, your vote did not count, but how would you have swayed?
I agree with that. Cain fought the better fight.
I'm the person that is probably best suited to judge this fight. I know jack shit about this franchise, so I was listening to what their arguments were and to tell me on why they were underrated, what this person did to deserve to be rated, and why they're not held on that pedestal. And I think Cain did that better with his character than Robert did. So I'm also giving my point to Cain.
Robert, I know exactly how you feel. I got knocked out in a league that I fucking created by that son of a bitch over there, three doors down. But
hey, before your match, I can give you pointers. Alrighty.
All right, so that ties things up. We now go into question number 3, and that question is as follows: what Golden Age Disney animated film holds up the least? We're gonna go back to Cain for his opening remarks. You have 1 minute as time begins and start talking.
So when we were kind of going down and breaking down like every like classic age Disney film, there was one that stuck out to me that people at one time believed that this was one of the best animated films out there. And if you go back and watch it today, I don't care who you are, this movie is terrible. It is atrocious. It is not good at all. And that is Bambi. Bambi is a film that has it's like something that on the outside might look pretty, but there's nothing beneath it. It's like a girl with terrible personality. There's no story to it. And frankly, I can't enjoy myself watching it. When I try to watch it, it took me 3 tries and I had to watch it in like settings, and it's just so bad. I never understood why people love this film, and it is considered one of Disney's like classics, and I don't get it.
All right. Go over to Robert now for his opening statement. Robert, what do you feel is the most overlooked Disney animated Golden Age film?
Not overlooked.
Yes, I'm aware. I know the fight.
Yeah, it's not overlooked, right?
Sorry, what Disney animated Golden Age film holds up the least?
Yeah.
It's been a long day.
Okay, it's cool. All right, here we go. Girls talk too much. A jealous female can be tricked into anything. You should be our mother. That's the only thing women are good for. Those are all 3 real quotes from a real movie called Peter Pan. And that's not okay. Peter Pan is a movie I liked as a child a lot. Going back, it holds up the least. When something doesn't hold up, it means it was once good. Bambi was never really a spectacle. It was never really something. It was always just meh. It was always just meh. It was overshadowed by every other movie in that decade. It's a slow burn. I'm not arguing against Bambi right now. Peter Pan. Peter Pan is extremely sexist. It's extremely racist. The visuals are not that good. If you endorse bullying, maybe you like this movie. But in general, there's no complexity. There's no themes. The whole point of the Peter Pan character is one of complexity. It is one of childhood innocence. And Peter's not really an innocent child. He's a murderer, and he is maybe like sexual assault, and he's super racist, and this movie is not okay at all. There are no moments that hold up in Bambi. There are themes in Bambi that are deeper than what you see that do hold up.
All right. Didn't have to say time for that one. That's pretty good. On to the 5-minute free form, gentlemen. I imagine this is going to get heated. Let's get it on.
All right, I'm going to talk real quick first about Bambi. So you say that there's nothing beneath it. You say it may look pretty, but there's nothing beneath it. That was something you said in your opening. That is simply not true. The themes of Bambi are some of the most relatable to nowadays. I don't, Cody. I don't care that I'm talking about buzzwords. It's the truth about my argument. The themes about Bambi are the most relevant today out of any Golden Age Disney film. It is an environmentalist film. You know how many debates we have in politics in America and the world nowadays about saving the planet that we sought to destroy first? Bambi's all about that. It makes humans the bad guys. We are the bad guys. That gives us a different perspective on our worldview that we see it today. That is deep. It's a slow burn. It's a slow movie, but it really focuses on the relationships of the characters, Bambi and her friends, and then to see like the monstrosities that happen. That's deep. That's a good thing. Just because it may look like it was made in the 40s and it's a little bit slow, I'll take slow and old looking over aggressively atrocious to like racism and sexism points. What makes the Red Man Red is a song, and it's not good.
All right, so if you want to talk about racist themes in Disney films, there's a ton of them. You have Aristocats, you have Pocahontas. It is nothing new in Disney, so if you want to use
that doesn't make it okay.
I'm not saying it makes it okay, but I'm just
You're kind of excusing it, though.
I'm not. I'm just saying that it happens in other films, and in doing so, as that your argument, I'm trying to say that my film is a Disney film that has nothing to it. You want to talk about environmental film about Disney and stuff? WALL-E is a better example of that on how it destroys everything. Bambi as a whole, you don't really dive into it that much. Yeah, there is a fire scene, but it's not dedicating to deforestation or anything like that, or how we are hurting our climate, not our climate, the pollution levels. Where like WALL-E covers a lot of that way better, in my opinion.
Right, but WALL-E's not a Golden Age Disney film. I don't think that argument holds water at all.
I'm just saying that there is better versions of that. So if you want to use that argument, that's fine. But I think Disney has taken that and made it better. If that's what you want to say.
Right, but this was the first film to do it. This was the first Disney film to tackle environmentalist themes, and it did it well for its time, and it still gives us a new perspective. You think films like WALL-E and those kind of environmentalist films that came afterwards would have happened without Bambi? You're wrong. Bambi laid the groundwork for those environmentalist themes that happened later, and they're still done pretty well. Like, that doesn't, just because like it was environmentalist themes in the 40s doesn't mean that it's not still applicable to today's world. Now Peter Pan, on the other hand, is just the worst. Peter is a like misogynistic racist who does an Indian dance and smokes some weed and then like wants to marry this Native American girl, and then like everybody's just cool with that because he saved her life and she was a damsel in distress, and if you help someone, they are required to give you a kiss, and it's just not okay if she doesn't want to do it. That's the message that's behind Peter Pan, and I'm sorry, okay, that doesn't hold up.
But you are focusing on Peter Pan, but really the main character of Peter Pan is Wendy. Wendy's story is a lot better in the film, and there's nothing you can negate about Wendy's story.
She's demeaned the entire time for being a woman. Literally, those quotes that I did in my opening argument were all said to or about her. Every single one.
But if you want to talk about Wendy as a character of whole, how does she relate that? She ends up saving the day. How is that?
How does she save the day? She sits there, gets tied up, and then Peter Pan has to fly in and bully a codfish, call him a bunch of names, feed him to a crocodile, murder some people, and then fly away, and she is rescued. She does not save the day. That is not true.
Okay. I'm not going to argue that. What's wrong with murder? What's wrong with murder?
Cain, I love you.
What's wrong with it? You love the MCU. You love Middle Earth. It all has murder. Maybe we need a little more murder in our Disney films, okay? Okay. You know what? There's a hole in my roof. Not really, okay? I'm just trying to think of something. I'm stalling for time.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. Bambi has death.
Bambi has murder. Bambi's a good movie. Good movie. Just kidding. It's not. That's my Dan Skip Allen impression. The movie's trash. It's terrible. It is not fun at all. And there's nothing to it. It is
there is magic.
Boring. There's nothing to it. People will at least say that, hey, Peter Pan is at least one of my favorite Disney films. Personally, it's not one of mine, but there are people out there. No one.
Those people haven't revisited. The argument is one
single person will say Bambi is my favorite film. My roommate that I'm about to have in Disney, his favorite Disney film is Peter Pan.
Okay, but that's the thing. The argument is which movie holds up less, and that's the definition of holds up less. Like, when people love it or have loved it, go back to revisit it and realize how terrible it is. That is not holding up, and that's what Peter Pan is. Bambi is meh. It's always been meh. That doesn't mean that now it doesn't hold up. It's just meh. like it has depth that just isn't there. There are good moments in that movie. The moments where Bambi first meets all of her friends, when she meets Thumper, when she meets Flower. Those are really sweet, tender moments. Those are some of the best like emotional friendship moments of the early Disney stuff.
Okay, the thing with Bambi is there's a good solid half hour of the portion where there might not be a single line of dialogue. It is so boring. If I want to watch a silent film in Disney, okay.
Go on to the closing arguments, and we're going to start off with Robert. You have 45 seconds to wrap them up and present them to the judges accordingly.
There is a song where a bunch of white British kids sit around a bonfire and sing about like wives' tales of why Native Americans have red skin, and then they dance little dances and they smoke a lot, and it's just super insensitive. Like, and to women as well. Like, there is nothing that you can look at in this movie and say, yeah, that really holds up by today's standards. There is nothing that holds up by today's standards in Peter Pan. It is just a sad, sad stain on Disney's history. Bambi is just okay. It's a slow burn, but some of the best movies of all time are slow burns. Look at stuff like Arrival. Look at stuff like WALL-E. Look at stuff like Memento. Good slow burns. That doesn't mean it's bad.
Right. Over to Cain. Your closing arguments. Time begins when you start talking.
If you want to talk about slow burns, that's fine. But when you talk about a movie that has legitimately barely any story, that's one thing. And if you want to keep calling Bambi a her, then I'm going to finally correct you. Bambi's a dead guy. There's a whole scene where Bambi literally fights another buck. It's buck on buck. It's a guy. So I don't know if you remember seeing Bambi. The movie doesn't hold up. And there's no story to it. There's literally mom dies. Then we time jump really to the point where everyone's gone through puberty. You don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. It's a film that you don't understand anything going on. At least with Peter Pan, if you take away the racism or the sexism, it is still a fun adventure that we go off to Neverland. It is a film that people have tried remaking multiple times because it is a story that is fun and it is something where you try to see. We've never seen anyone try to remake the story of Bambi.
All right. Great arguments by both competitors. I will go over to Coho first because your vote did not count the first time. Where are you swaying and why?
I think I'm giving my point to Robert. I think Robert had this fight through the middle pretty handily. I think Cain's closing. He started to close that gap a little bit, but I don't think it was quite enough to get him back to the point where Robert had, to the ground level that Robert had gotten through the whole of his argument. So I'm giving my point.
All right, go over to Cody next. Cody, who gets you your point and why?
Well, welcome to Nerdgasm. A new word that is banned from life is called themes. Because, damn, we've heard a lot of them in 3 questions and used about 14 times in the opening. But when he got to the crux of the argument, it really made a good point. So I give it to Robert. Congrats, Budward McGee. You'll go into the one-up in the speed round.
All right, so that means that Robert does get the advantage going into speed round. I would also have given my point to Robert. I agree with Cody. A lot of buzzwords, very topical things. I think the argument as a whole was kind of distracted. I think both competitors sort of lost what the question was, and I think that got distracted. But I think Robert just got more jabs in. More effective jabs, and I think that's where it gets the point for me. Plus, we now go into the speed round portion of Nerdgasm, and how it's going to work is we're going to give you a question, and how it is going to go is if you answer first, you will go first. There is a 40-second opening followed by a 30-second rebuttal. The category that was picked for the first one is DC movies, and then the second one, if we have to go there, is picked by myself, Cody, and Caleb to make sure that it's a nice balanced question. So the first question, and once again, gentlemen, from DC movies, if I hear you first, you will be going first. Please listen very carefully. Your first question is, what is the most overlooked DC film?
B for Vendetta.
B for Vendetta.
The Lego Batman movie.
The Lego Batman movie. I heard Cain first on V for Vendetta. All right, you have 40 seconds. Time begins when you start talking.
V for Vendetta is an overlooked DC film because it's not even like a DC property. It's a Vertigo property, which is a subproperty of DC, therefore making a DC film. So it's overlooked on the fact that it's not even like, oh, well, it's a DC, it's a superhero. No, it's actually like political drama with a character that is super obnoxious, like weird, and it's great. And Lego Batmovie is not overlooked at all because we have two people in this call who absolutely would suck its dick. It is not overlooked. It is one of people's like favorite DC films. If I have Caleb Cole, what his favorite Batman movie right now, he might say the Lego Batman movie. It's not overrated. While V for Vendetta, no one talks about this movie, and it's great.
Still have 5 seconds. Okay, cool. Over to Robert for your 40 seconds. Time begins when you start talking. Yeah, so.
Sorry, my dog's having an aneurysm. Okay. V for Vendetta is an abomination of its source material. It does not do the source material justice at all. And also the political stuff is really muddled. It's really dry. Hugo Weaving is the only good part of that movie. Every single other part of that movie, the political stuff doesn't even make sense. They're talking about like a virus that happened. There's no explanation. It is not overlooked. People obviously, like, you're arguing semantics with the whole it's not actually a DC film technically thing. Freaking Natalie Portman is terrible. Her accent is atrocious in this movie. Talking Lego Batman. People forget about it. People just do when they're listening to Batman movies. They're like, oh yeah, I forgot about Lego Batman. That's overlooked. Of course, it's not saying good or bad. It's saying which one do people remember. Lego Batman, most people do not remember. They're like, oh shit, yeah, that came out in 2017. Didn't get an Oscar nomination. That's overlooked. That is overlooked by the Academy. That's overlooked by the public. People do not remember this movie, and they should because it's one of the funniest movies of all time.
Right. I accidentally gave Robert 6 seconds advantage. I didn't give him the proper 10-second countdown. So I'm going to give Cain just an extra 6 seconds in the rebuttal just to make up for it. So, Cain, you will have 36 seconds. Time begins when you start talking.
If you want to argue the fact that Lego Batman movie wasn't nominated for an Oscar, well, guess what? Neither was the Lego movie, and I bet Lego Movie Part 2 will not be nominated. Something against the Lego movies that they do not nominate. So that argument is kind of invalid. When we talk about overlooked DC films, V for Vendetta is an overlooked DC film that people don't even realize is a DC film. Lego Batman movie, I don't really realize people that, like, oh yeah, the Lego Batman movie. Usually people, if that's the case, people just haven't seen it because it's a Lego property. While people are very iconic that this is still a DC film as a whole. It covers every DC rogues gallery that you can get for Batman. It is a phenomenal film, I'll give you that. But at the same time, it's not overlooked at all because I have so many people in this community who will love the Lego
Batman. All right. Over to Robert for your 30-second rebuttal. Time begins when you start talking.
You said it there yourself. In this community, film fans, people in the film community love Lego Batman. The community as a whole, the public as a whole, do not remember a single thing about this movie. They forgot this movie even existed. And when you mention it, they're like, oh yeah, that was really great. But they overlook it. They do not remember it. People do not remember that. V for Vendetta, again, trash the source material. The political stuff is super muddled. It's not overlooked because it's not great. Like, just because people don't remember that it's a DC movie, that's not the question. It's the most overlooked DC movie. Of the DC movies that exist, which is the most overlooked? It's Lego Batman.
All right. Holy shit. This is a good back and forth.
There was one argument I wish I could have said, but I forgot.
All right, I'm gonna go first, and then I'll pass it off to the other judges. I think the opening arguments were sort of a canceling out. I was aware of what both were trying to present. What got me was that I think Cain said something in his rebuttal, and it got Robert to sort of stay on that. Like he kind of spent a little bit more time than he needed to on a certain point, and I think it's in that rebuttal that I just didn't get enough of this. So I'm slightly going Cain 55-45, but I'm not alone here. There are two other judges. I will go to Cody next. Cody, who gets your point and why?
So yeah, the openings, it kind of comes to the attack, and regardless what you say, community or not, I don't know if it got Robert on a tangent, and I wanted more hits against why V for Vendetta was overlooked instead of a bad movie, because that's what he was mainly arguing. What I heard was that they messed up the source material and the political stuff was muddled, but not why people don't go to it or think about it. That may be considered bad, but it's not really overlooked in that regards. So I'm going to actually go Cain on this one.
All right, so Cain does tie things up going into the final question. Caleb, your vote did not count last time, but how would you have swayed?
I would have gone 51-49 Cain, just because I think Cain did a better job of explaining why V for Vendetta is overlooked, whereas and taking down why Lego Batman movie is not overlooked, whereas Robert was focusing more on why it's bad. So,
all right. So with that being said, Cain does tie things up. We go into the final question of Nerdgasm. Cody and I specifically sort of talked about this. We wanted to make sure that there was a good balanced category of the ones that they're able to draft from. Once again, gentlemen, if I hear you first, you will go first. Your question is as follows. What is the saddest moment in Star Wars?
Christ. Han Solo's death.
Han Solo's death.
Luke Skywalker's death.
Luke's death. All right. Just make sure I get everything down here. All right. So, Robert, I did hear you first. In Han Solo's death, you're going to have 40 seconds. Time begins when you start talking.
Han Solo's death was unceremonious. He was ripped from us too soon. Luke Skywalker went out contently. He had his individual moment with every single character before he died, and every single character had their moment to accept it before it happened. Nobody was shocked by that, by the way the movie was going. With Han Solo, you didn't get the rest of his relationship with Rey, and it's not just his death itself, it's the other characters' reaction to it. Rey's visceral scream, Chewbacca's roar, Leia and Rey embracing after it all had happened, seeing them cry, knowing what had just happened. That is emotional. That is sad. Luke Skywalker, we knew it was going to happen. We saw every character have their moment. It was fulfilling. It wasn't unjust.
All right. I'm going to go over to Cain now for his opening argument. 40 seconds on the clock. Time begins when you start talking.
Sad is a word that can be interpreted many different ways, and Luke Skywalker's death was sad because it was disappointing. This is a character that we've grown to love, the character that we've wanted to see come back into this trilogy, and he goes out in like the first movie he comes back in the most pitiful, stupid way. He wasn't even on the fighting against Kylo Ren. He was a projected member. He never got to go back to. We never got to see him again with like Lando. We never got to see him have these moments. It's just sad because this is how the best character in the Star Wars franchise goes out, and are you like that's what I'm left with? That is why the Last Jedi is not a good film, because one of these scenes, because it's just so sad on how the fact that they thought this was good. They thought this was a great scene. While Han Solo's scene, it was still, kind of emotional, but still at the same time, I felt no emotion to it because it was kind of
time. All right, over to Robert now for his 30-second rebuttal. Time begins when you start talking.
You sound angry at the Last Jedi screenwriters, not sad at the moment itself. Luke had his goodbye moment with Rey. He had his goodbye moment with Leia. That is more than we got from Han. Han was ripped from us. It was a betrayal. It was sad. We see Kylo Ren, who was toying the line between good and bad, fully go to the dark side. That is sad because we see what could have happened to that character. We're connected with this character. Luke Skywalker had his ending moments. He had his similar moments. It was the perfect ending for that character with how that character's motivations were throughout the entire film. That is the exact way that it should have ended, and it wasn't sad. It was exactly perfect.
All right, over to Cain now for his 30-second rebuttal. The last of the match. Time begins when you start talking.
If you want to talk about how like Kylo going into the bad side, like the evil side, bad side, dark side, and how like that was a big clutch in your argument, it's the fact that there's still conspiracy out there that Han did it to himself, Han killed himself, and if that's a point that's sacrificed, it's hopeful. And while Luke's thing, it's mediocre, it's disappointing on how this is the way that this character has gone out. He's a character who's overcome so many odds, and he goes out like this. It is not satisfying because he dies alone on the planet with all the islands and porgs and shit. He dies alone by himself. Disappointing.
All right. We will now go to the judges for their decisions. I'm going to go to Caleb Coho first because your vote did not count last time.
Can I go first? Can I go first so I don't have to decide this or come down to like middle?
Yeah, I say let Cody go because I haven't fully made up my mind yet.
Okay.
I'm sick. I don't want to do this. So here's my viewpoint on it. Bold strategy from one competitor. I think it was a very smart strategy. I just don't think there was enough counter punches against it, so I have to go with Robert. But that's why I'm leaving it in the hands of the other two. I have to go with Robert.
All right. Caleb, I will go to you next.
The moment Cain said Luke Skywalker's death, I was left kind of scratching my head. I wasn't sure how this was going to go. And I think he did something unprecedented in debate where he redefined the debate, and Robert kind of fed into it a little bit. I think Robert argued the original question really, really well, but I think Cain also took that down. I think there's something that like he kind of got glossed over, is that Han Solo might have activated the lightsaber and killed himself, which takes a little bit away from the sadness that ambiguity is still out there. And I think by the razor-thin margin, I'm going to side slightly with Cain.
Right. So, it all comes down to me, I guess. The rebuttals sort of canceled each other out. I don't think there was an edge that was given to either. I think arguments sort of got distracted in that sense. Honestly, for me, it's Robert's opening that gives me the point. I think it was the overall theme of like, look at how it impacted every other character. Is where it gets that point for me. I think Cain's approach to the question was great and it's very innovative. I like that approach. But I think Robert tackled the question itself better. So with that being said, your winner advancing to the finals to face Tim Bracala. It is the Hobbit, Robert Parker. Let's go quickly into some post-match interviews. Robert, you had the edge going into speed round. Cain tied it up with the V for Vendetta. You hear saddest moment in Star Wars. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it took me a while to cycle through it because, like, originally I was thinking about Vader's death in Return of the Jedi, and then I was thinking about like just a bunch of different stuff, and then I thought about Force Awakens, and I'm like, yeah, that's the pick. I misplayed the DC question hard. I made a big mistake going for Lego Batman. I should have gone for History of Violence, Losers, something like that. Made a big mistake going Lego Batman. That's the kind of mistake I won't make against Tim. I've joked that we should do me versus Tim in person so we can get into an actual fist fight. But that's probably not a good idea because he would throw hands first. But I have nothing but respect for Cain. He's one of my best friends in this entire community. He's one of the funniest guys around. And that if there was one way that I wanted this match to go, it was down to the last question on a 2-1 split. So, love you, Cain.
How do you feel going up against Brother Tim in the finals, an Arkham Knight Civil War, an official one, not just a dark match?
It's interesting. Tim is very, very good at something that I'm not as good at in debate, and that's just straight up being a dick. Like, just being aggressive and belligerent in debate is something that I'm not very good at. Like, I can talk a lot, and I can, just think of words quick, but, like, just getting a little bit personal and getting a little bit mean isn't something that I'm good at in debate, and that's something that he does very well in debate, which is interesting. I have more experience. I've been doing like debate for a much longer period of time. I think him and I prep very differently for debates. I think we have very different styles, but it's going to be interesting to see how it collides.
All right. So best of luck to you in the finals. I'm super excited to write questions for that match, and to get hopefully some certain judges on for the championship, as well as Caleb, Cody, and myself. But we'll go over to Cain. Cain, I said in the opening, and I'll say it again. You've had one hell of a path to get to the semifinals. You beat Jay Burns. You won in a triple threat against Caleb and Eli. You took on Robert. You went to the last question. I think your approach to some of the questions was really interesting, and it made myself think about it. Like, well, how can I approach it differently? And I think you're a great person to go to for that. How do you feel about your performance?
I think to at least go back to that last question. It's one of those things, like me and Robert both thought of Han Solo's death at the very last second. So I had to come up with an idea that was going to be a way that I can counter my own opinion. And that's why I had to change the question in a sense. And that's why I did that. I'm kind of like, I'm surprised I made it this far against Robert. Robert's one of the best. And I guess just the way I play questions is kind of a smart idea. And it's just, I don't know, it's just the way I interpret them.
You are an active person in saying that debate is not your greatest thing. That's not something that you actively pursue. Is this going to be a championship that you will continue to pursue, or will this sort of be will they take a little bit of a break?
I think I'm just gonna take a break mainly because of other stuff, but at the same time, I'm still gonna come back because it's so fun to argue with people. I think it's just nerdgasm's a thing that I do for fun. It's fun. I'm not gonna try to put in like a lot of like insane amount of works like I do for like Fandom or anything like that, because I still like it's fun and it's just fun to argue with people. And I think that's what makes it the best when you come in with like no expectations and you exceed them.
As his manager, he will be back in Nerdgasm because the more fellowship I have competing for belts, the better. But 2020 will be his return to Nerdgasm because he is taking a hiatus. But he did a hell of a job. Both of them did today. You can walk around with your head held high that you literally took Robert. You beat Robert in a Middle Earth question. That's only a few people can say that. Like RJ. Well, not in debate. We corrected him, but yeah, it's fun.
All right, so I guess we did get Cody's thoughts on the match. Caleb, will go over to you. Your thoughts on the match?
This is incredible. I honestly think that Cain needs to give himself more credit. I think he is one of the best in debate, and I think he could potentially be the Nerdgasm champion with how smart he plays it. And I think the way he approaches matches in this sort of nonchalant, like kind of unconfident way is helping him because it fuels him to get in here and approach these questions in a different way, and I think that's what makes him so deadly. But Robert winning this match makes for an incredibly compelling title match to get Robert versus Tim in debate. So that's awesome.
All right, and quickly, my final thoughts on the match. I thought both competitors did a great job of adapting their strategies throughout the match. I like the different approaches that they took to different questions, and I think this is going to be one of the greatest matches. I think just in debate in general. I think one that people will look back to, and one that I will probably look back to whenever it goes up, just to see if the points still hold up. But that is the end of the semifinals. We are now into championship mode. Robert Parker versus Tim Berkala for the inaugural Nerdgasm Championship. I want to thank Cody and Caleb once again for helping me judge today, as well as Cain and Robert for being incredible people, incredible competitors. So for Cain, for Cody, for Caleb, for Robert, and myself, I am the Black Hunter Brooklyn Vale. Cheers, guys, and as always, drive safely.
Hey Robert, it's me, Tim the Hulk Berkala, your teammate, your brother, and most importantly, your friend. But what am I doing? Well, I'm just back here studying for Fandom, enjoying my evening, watching a beautiful classic. Not on VHS though, unfortunately, on Blu-ray. I'm just here to say that, looks like you and me are going to be facing each other in Nerdgasm. Oh, buddy. Oh, you've stepped into my arena now, my friend. This is where I shine. You shine in Fandom? Well, this is where it's happening. It's gonna go down, buddy. At Mayhem. You, me, in the ring. You won't be able to stop me. And yeah, sure, I'm the editor for Nerdgasm, so I can easily put this into this video, but that doesn't matter. Who cares? It's going down. It's going down.